Let's see. Benny's,
I'm sure you guys will know it.
Maybe. Benny's was, young men know they will die, but only old men believe it. By James Islington or Islington or... Wait, are we live? Oh,
We're live, chat.
Should I do that an intro or...
Sure.
Maybe we should like record a little intro that we just put on the front of every video.
What's up, gang? It's your boy.
What should I do? How should I...
Welcome back to the what is it, Open Chapter
Yeah.
Society chat. Today we got the handsome Heleman.
My name is Jaxon Kelch and welcome to the Open Chapter Society.
Tough. That's very tough.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Okay, give us an intro.
A real intro, like introduce you.
Yeah, give us a welcome to the podcast type intro
yeah.
and give us a.
I thought that was what I say.
Well, then
Welcome to the Open Chapter Society. I thought that
We
was
can't
the welcome
cut
to the
it.
podcast.
We don't want to cut it. It's got to be clean. It's got to be cleaner than that.
I was honestly thinking that it would be hilarious if I just had one of the books behind me. I'm sitting there. Close it. Oh, hello there.
Thanks for coming.
I've been expecting you.
Yeah, for the past 2 hours, I've been expecting you.
Yeah.
You had even less time to prepare than Emma did.
Wow,
Whoa.
you guys really know how to treat a guest. Should we do a real intro?
Real intro?
Real intro.
Give me a demonstration.
Let me lead it for you. Hey guys, welcome back to the Open Chapter Podcast Society podcast. Today I'm here with Jaxon. Thanks for coming, Jaxon.
Some host you are.
Thanks.
He did a good job.
That was pretty good. Yes.
You watch enough podcasts, you get it figured out, I think.
All right. I would like to touch down on a lot of things that happen in your life, such as, having a baby, what that's like and how that affected you. Last time we spoke, you told me that you'd been learning a lot about different religions, and I'd like to touch on that. Before we get into the meat of it, though, I would like to introduce our guests to sort of who you are and how you are. So why don't you walk me through kind of your early life? Like, where did you grow up?
Yeah, I appreciate the outline. So I grew up in Utah, not too far from you guys, both of you guys. I grew up with a lot of siblings, 12 siblings, 12 siblings. Smack in the middle, so I'm right in the middle of everybody. We were really poor when I was young, so I honestly think that was a lot of fun because back then you had to actually go outside and figure out things to do with your friggin' siblings and friends instead of just playing video games all day. But yeah, so we'd play a lot of games outside. We'd play a lot of Lava Monster, a lot of tag, and that's some of the best parts of my life for sure. Like the ignorance of childhood is awesome, but I'm definitely glad to be where I'm at. I was homeschooled for a long time, which makes sense. That's why I'm so weird. That's why I can't freaking hold a conversation with somebody unless I'm drinking whiskey. But I'm in sales, so how did that happen? I don't know. I always hated school, and you let me know if I'm rushing through my life, but I always hated school because it was a chore, and I was a child. I just wanted to be outside. I wanted to do fun things. But when I was probably 10, I had a older cousin who passed away, and that made me realize that I need to work harder. Which it sounds funny, like I'm saying like, oh, as this 10-year-old, I'm just thinking these things. It sounds stupid, but he was a really hard worker. Academically, he was like the smartest person I ever knew. So yeah, it just made me realize that I should actually try in my life. And again, it sounds weird. Like I was even shocked to find out that I was 10 years old thinking that stuff. It's just weird. But after that, I started doing well in school. In about 9th grade, I went to high school. It was the first actual public school I've been to. And it went well. I didn't feel like I was too awky or nothing. that was a lot of fun, and I played a lot of sports, mostly basketball. Played basketball throughout high school, but after ninth grade, I went to a nerd school called Itinerus, and that was all right. I definitely wasn't smart enough to be there. I tried. I think I ended up only having like it was like a 3.6, which is pretty high, but compared to the other kids there, you know, they were all finishing with 4.0s, and they were getting free rides to college. And I was definitely more interested in sports than academics, even though I loved academics at that time, because I loved to learn. But what I hated was the authority of the teachers, because I felt like the teachers weren't very smart, and I felt like they treated all the kids like they're kids. And this time I was 16, so when your teacher talks to you like you're in preschool, it's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm sorry, that's super annoying. It pissed me off. So I really fought with a lot of my teachers, except for one. He's a teacher I even talk to today in some of my ventures that I'll go over. But she was my business teacher, because at this nerd school, the reason I went there is because my mom, she just looked up the top schools in the state, and she just picked the one with the highest. I don't even know what it is, the highest grades, and just told me that I had to go there. It had a concurrent enrollment program, which means it allowed me to take college classes while I went through high school. So I ended up graduating with my associate's degree, which was super nice as I actually started going into college. But anyways, this teacher, she was my business teacher. It was just a basic college business class, but she was the first teacher that I, one, super respected because I felt like she had a level head, but two, she was aligned with my beliefs more politically. The other teachers at that school, they were quite liberal, extreme leftists is what I'd say. But she was more libertarian, even though I'd say socially she was probably a little more left than me. She was a little bit more libertarian, and so I loved that. I would chat with her quite often, and she kind of helped me develop my love for business. I've always loved business. I've always wanted to create things. When I was young, I wanted to be an engineer, but I decided I probably wasn't smart enough for that. So I decided I'd try and create a business or something. And so that was my dream all through high school. It was just to start a business, but I never really did.
Why not?
I'm just a guy who likes hype. So I just hype myself up, and I have a hard time just doing things. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. Maybe I just overthink it. I'm actually starting stuff now and putting a lot of work into stuff now, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And then after I graduated, I went to the U at the, I guess I'm jumping ahead a little bit. At the end of 11th grade, my teachers and my counselors, they were really hounding me on picking a career. And so I decided to do law because I love law. I love the debate. It was in debate class. And it felt like it was the right path to go. Especially constitutional law. So that's what I wanted. By the time I graduated, I was working towards that, but I'd also gotten distracted with trying to hang out with women because women are way cooler than law school. So that's when I met my wife, and I kind of pushed off law school. But I mean, I still went to law, but it was definitely the back of my head. My GPA started dropping, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make it into law school. So I graduate with my associates and my high school degree. My associates is it's an associates of science, I think. And I decided the bachelor I would take would be psychology because I love psychology. Huge fan of psychology, and I felt like it'd be a good thing to help me with law, rather than like taking pre-law, because a lot of students, I don't know if you know how it works, but you have to get into law, you have to have a 4-year degree. And that can be in anything. A lot of dudes do political science, a lot of people do pre-law, but I think, or at least what my counselor told me, is that the law schools are looking for more diverse degrees, I guess. So I chose psychology, and that was I think a pivotal moment in my life. It really sparked my love for psychology. I studied the crap out of psychology. I loved every class I took.
Has it proven useful in your life?
I think so. I'm in sales now, and I think sales, psychology, they go hand in hand. But I think the biggest thing is just understanding people I meet in my day-to-day life, outside of work, outside of whatever. And just helping me in my relationship, helping me even raise my child. Psychology has been extremely important, extremely helpful. So I graduated with a degree in psychology and found out I didn't have enough money to go to law school. So at this time I was getting ready to marry my wife, and I was kind of wanting to start a family versus go to law school. Law school is extremely expensive. It's going to take a lot of time. I wanted my wife to stay home and not have to work. And I was just realizing that law at this time in my life wasn't going to be compatible. So we ended up getting married, and it was an awesome, gorgeous wedding. And I decided not to go to law school, but I jumped into sales because I've always liked sales. And I figured it would look good on my law resume when I decided to go to law school, but also it would, I'd be able to use my psychology skills or whatever you call it, and you can make a lot of money. So there's definitely draw there. So I did sales. I did sales at Popular for a while, and that didn't work out. I could jump into why I think that is, and everybody's going to have a different understanding of things. Personally, I think that there wasn't enough support for me, but I'm certain people are going to have other ideas.
Yeah, I was talking to Tegan about it, and he was saying that he kind of thought the reason it didn't work out is because they took on you and him at the same time.
I think so too.
And they could only have their trainer really train one person at a time.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. And me and Zach, I love Zach to death. I love Tegan to death. There's no animosity there. After one of our big deals fell through, I met him at a coffee shop, and I was like, "Hey, dude." And at this time, my wife was just barely had a baby. So I'm kind of rushing through things, but my wife had just barely had a baby. In sales, if you're not selling, you're not making money. So I wasn't making any money. And Popular wasn't making any money off me. So I eventually just told Zach, I was like, "Hey, this isn't working out. We both know we're not stupid. And I can see that you're split. So if you'd like, I can stay and we can try and train me, but it might be better just to let it go." And we both agreed. He was like, I was like, "You get back to me. You let me know." And at that time, he was looking to stop training and start prospecting. So it was going to be a big ask to pull him back out of that. So I knew it was probably going to be a no. And he told me, he's like, "Yeah, I think it's best if I just prospect." And I was like, "Totally fair. That's totally fair." And for a long time, that was a big hit to me because I thought I was good at sales and I tried everything that I knew. I just wondered, like, am I just garbage at sales? And I'm totally jumping all over the place. So let me finish off with my life and we'll jump into sales because it's a huge passion of mine. So now I'm at a different company selling. I'm doing great. My baby's awesome. She's the cutest thing ever. She's 8 months right now, trying to walk. She's talking a little bit. I mean, babbling, whatever. She's so cute. She loves saying dad, 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 dad.
You ever read to her?
I do. I love reading to her. Yeah, and me and my wife were just trying to figure out how to strengthen our marriage. just figure out life together. So I guess it's a top down view of my life, a quick summarization.
I once asked my mom, like, how do you do it? How do you know what to do with kids and stuff? And she says, that's funny. I once asked my dad that same question when I first had kids. I asked my dad, like, what do you do? How do you know what to do? And he smiled and told me what I'm going to tell you. You don't. Nobody does.
Yeah, 100%.
You know how we know how to raise kids is because we did it. Like,
Yeah.
nobody tells you how to do it before.
You realize, like, having kids, you realize that your parents were just freaking walking around blind, and so are you. Like, it scares me because I'm like, I don't want to mess this kid up. Like, I don't want to just freaking, I don't know. I don't want her to turn out to be a weirdo or something because she has a weirdo dad. So it's scary, but I think she'll turn out all right.
Surely.
Let's drink to that.
How was it having a kid, though? How'd you feel when you first saw her?
Dude, I was about to pass out. My wife is such a champion. She decided she wanted to do a home birth, no meds, which
Whoa.
I'm like, okay, girl, you do you. Like,
I think that's what my wife wants too.
dude, good luck. That's women who do that. They're such champions. Women who give birth are champions. But dude, that's crazy. Just to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna take any meds. I'm just gonna freaking feel the motion of the ocean or whatever it is. And my wife, she's a crunchy mom a little bit. She's all about natural. So yeah, watching that whole scenario, my wife, she tells me I did a good job. I'm like, you're sweet, but I don't know if I didn't know if I did. I was just sitting with her the entire time. I was like, good job. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's probably almost over. I don't know. But it was a quick birth. It was easy. It was, there's no complications. It's crazy, dude. Watching that is crazy. It's freaking, you have to go take a smoke break after. It's so wild. I was like, I didn't expect there to be blood because I'm an idiot. I don't know why I thought there wasn't going to be blood. But I went to go get towels, dude, and I looked down, there's blood everywhere. I was like, what the fuck? What's going on? I should have known. Like, obviously there's going to be blood, but I was like shocked, dude, when there's that much blood. I was like, oh shit, what's going on? Asking the midwives, like, I'm about to call 911. And they're like, just sit down. They're taking care of me more than they're taking care of my wife. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. And afterwards, you're just like so grateful to the midwives. You're like, oh, you guys are all angels. Such the sweetest ladies. They're just so professional. They know exactly what to do. Freaking, I had to give them hugs afterwards. I'm like, bring it in. We all did a good job. I was just freaking about to crash. But yeah, it went pretty great. And then afterwards, you get no sleep. And it's not even because the baby's crying. It's just because you're leaning over to make sure they're breathing every 5 seconds because it's just so stressful. I'm a helicopter dad, so anytime I hear anything, I'm freaking putting my ear on her chest, making sure she's freaking alive. But yeah, I think we were super blessed that it went well.
And how was it when you actually saw the kid and held her?
She's gonna see this one day and she's gonna hate me for it. But it wasn't like anything super crazy. You'd be like, I mean, it was awesome. It's like, whoa, this is a baby. But like, I was so caught up in everything that was around me that I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do. So you just snuggle the baby and I think I think it was more like a blackout situation. Didn't even barely remember, but it's a fulfilling moment.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. But she's gonna hate me when she sees this, and she's like, "Why didn't you
love me?"
Yeah. Why do you hate me? It's not like that.
No, I know. What about having a big family? Do you think that affects you, and how do you think it might affect you as a dad?
Oh, that's a good question. It certainly does affect me. I think anybody who has a big family knows this. You have to grow up real fast in a big family, especially as if you're not the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you've got kids above you and kids below you, if you got kids below you, you got to grow up fast. You're changing diapers at 8 years old, dude. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Because you gotta take part in helping take care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really teaches you fast, but it also, for me, it teaches me to be not a helicopter parent. Not a helicopter parent. Not a gentle parent. Because gentle parenting is such a destructive thing for your child, and it's so natural to just want to give your kid everything and just want to fall into that. But you really need to be like, hey, no, you're even at 8 months old. I'm like, when she falls on her butt trying to walk, it's like, no, girl, you got to get back up. You got to figure that out. I can't just sit here and make sure you're never moving around. I can't steal your opportunities to fall, because then you'll never learn to walk. You'll never learn. That's ridiculous. So I'm really grateful to my family for teaching me that, because with 12 kids, or 13 kids, it's extremely rough. Especially we had 6 boys. 6 boys. That's extremely rough. Yeah, I think it's helped. It's taught me a lot of things, to be patient. But that's what comes to mind.
Okay. I think it was the screw tape letters. I could be wrong, but where it basically says he hates himself for pulling his hand away because he doesn't want them to fall, but he knows that if he doesn't pull his hand away, they will never learn to walk.
100%.
Mm-hmm. I think that was such a pretty quote.
That is a good quote. What's that from?
I think it's the screw tape letters. I could be wrong.
I don't know what that is.
By C.S. Lewis. It's
I love
basically
C.S. Lewis, but I don't read enough.
the screw tape letters is a series of letters between 2 demons, basically. One is named Screwtape, and the other is his nephew Wormwood. And basically, Screwtape is giving him advice on how to corrupt humans to evil.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. I've got a physical copy somewhere if you want to borrow it.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say what I'm looking for is C.S. Lewis's work on free will right now, and how it's compatible with broader Protestant theology. So I'm interested in that right now, but
Okay.
I guess that's the start of a different conversation. Yeah. We better wrap up our first.
Real quick though, you ever read John Locke?
I think so. I think I've read what's his famous
A Treatise on Civil Government, and the sequel, A Second Treatise on Civil Government.
I don't know, actually. I might not have. I know I'm familiar with John Locke, but
He's such a smart guy, and like America is built on his ideas.
mm-hmm.
I want to ask though, what exactly did you go into college for? What did you want to study?
Yeah, it was law. I would not have gone to college if I didn't intend to be a lawyer, which is funny now because I'm graduated and I don't have plans to go to law school yet. I really want to eventually, but it's not in the cards until I can afford it. My family comes first, so certainly it's something I'm looking forward to in my life, but I don't know when.
Are you able to operate a job and law school at the same time?
It'd be really difficult, but that's what I'm looking into now.
Is there some topic that you wanted to delve into next, or no?
Yeah. I'd love to just transition from my time at law school into my career in sales. I know I touched on it a little bit, but I love sales. After my time at Popular Design didn't work out, I moved to a company. I looked for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Why exactly did you decide to go into sales?
I've always had a passion for sales. I love chatting with people, I think is the biggest thing. And it makes my life interesting. I'm always talking to new people. My days are never the same. Mm-hmm. Even though I do the same things every day, they're never the same. There's money to be made in sales. And it matches up with the things I love, like psychology and human nature So yeah, I guess that's why. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe I always just thought I was good at sales, and I just convinced myself until I was. I don't know. I started this new job. It must have been back in early December. So I was I guess I wasn't out of a job for that long. Only like 3 or 4 months. But I found this job in December.
It's a long time when you got a family, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Stressful. I started this job in December, and it's March now. I guess April, but I finished off the March month being top on my team. I'm consistently top. I'm consistently doing the most on my team, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of killing it over there. I love the people. The people are awesome. They make my life interesting for sure. But working in tech it's crazy. Working in tech is crazy. You never realize how like pampered freaking coders are until you freaking work in a tech job. But the building I work at, it's massive. It's got just in our company, it's got easily 1,000 employees, and there's another at least 1,000 employee in company there. So it's a massive, massive building up in Draper. I've got a pretty sweet little space with my team. I sell HR software, so to somebody who doesn't understand it, it's probably boring.
HR, like human resources?
Yeah, yeah. So
what sort of software do they use?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, working in it every day, it's like, duh, it's HR software. But I do understand, like, what does that even mean? But it's software that will automate payroll for you, software that is a database for all employees. So right now I can pull up my app and I can look at my pay. I can look at my time off. I can clock in and out. I can sign up for PTO. My PTO days. It will show me my vacation days. Shows me who's out. But it also does a bunch more things like my benefits, my performance. So it tracks everything. It's kind of a massive database essentially. But it's a good product. I love the company. To HR people, they're pretty easy to sell because they're chatty and fun. You in our culture, we think HR is kind of boring and soul sucking because you always think of like, oh, gotta go to HR to talk about some stupid role. But it's not really like that. Mostly HR people are making your life better. And, there's some out there that are sucky people, but for the most part, they're fun. And they're fun to chat with. And that makes my life fun. But at this building, just to give you an idea of like how pampered tech company employees are, and this is crazy to me coming from factory work and being a little bit poorer when I was a kid. I'm allowed to leave my desk essentially whenever I want, to do whatever I want, as long as I'm hitting my numbers, and that's pretty normal in sales. There's soda machines everywhere, like soft serve machines. The bougiest soft serve machines you'd ever see, like. Because we live in Utah, dirty soda everywhere. So you can buy it's all free. You can go get yourself a pina colada root beer float soda. It's crazy. And then pickleball courts, basketball courts. There's a gym that's massive. It's got every piece of equipment you could use. There's a golf simulator. So I was shocked. Like I was shocked going into a company like that, wondering like, why the heck would you guys hire me for something so sweet? But they did, and that's actually a funny story too, because I talked to my manager today. He had interviewed somebody before me who was captain of the football team at BYU, and he told me that during the interview. So I was like, oh, no way, I'm getting this job. But he told me, he's like, you're young. I see that you got a lot of grit, I think. And so he took a gamble on me, which I'm super grateful for. And I like to think it paid off because I'm doing quite well. But I super appreciate that. My boss is a real one for that, because I would have picked the captain of the football team any day. Especially, a college football team as big as BYU, as famous as BYU.
Yeah.
I'd pick the football captain any day. But yeah, here we are.
Well, how do you expect that a football captain will be good at sales? How do you expect that even helps?
Yeah. As a, you have to have grit. He's got to be good at being a leader. He's got to have a good work ethic. So all these things are like the core of sales. I'm not like a professional salesperson, but I'm always working more than everybody else. I make sure my prospects reached or higher than everybody else. I'm calling way more people constantly. And I think that's where my success comes from. So it makes sense to hire somebody with that track record of grit and hard work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I actually work with a lot of athletes, college athletes, football players. I got a buddy there who he played for in the NFL Europe League. I didn't even know they had an NFL Europe League, but he played for Italy. So he lived in Italy and went up against other teams. But that's awesome. I know some other people that professional golf, basketball players. I guess I shouldn't say professional. They're all college level, except for my buddy, which I don't even know. Probably NFL and Europe is probably college level. So I see a lot of ex-athletes there.
I never would have guessed that was something that athletes went into a lot.
Yeah.
Totally thought they'd just continue their careers of being
That's
an
what you
athlete
think,
until they
but-
hurt their knee and couldn't play the sport anymore.
Yeah, but then you got to do something else, you know? What are you going to do?
But
Have all the money if you're the top dude, but if you're the bottom dude, you know? And it's not like
go to
these
a
dudes are
factory,
bad.
I guess.
Huh?
Go to a factory, I guess.
Or go become a salesman and make more money.
I guess.
Plus, can't go to a factory if you got a hurt knee.
Yeah, you can. Half the jobs you just stand there anyway.
Don't want to go to a factory if you have a hurt knee.
Yeah.
So that's been my life. Just constantly doing sales, constantly hanging out with my daughter and my wife. I think that's a good wrap on that segment of my life, that story of my life.
That was pretty good. I was entertained.
I'm glad. Let me tell you one more story. So
I'd love to hear it.
So this is going to get real personal for our audience. As some background, I got some performance anxiety when it comes to peeing in urinals. Okay, because it's like I'm standing at the urinal and I'm wondering like, this dude doesn't hear me peeing yet. Why am I not peeing yet? Like he's gonna think I'm weird for not peeing. So I'm like stressing out,
I
mad.
do that too.
I'm stressing out. And I'm like, dude, he's not hearing me piss. Like, what? He's gonna think I'm so weird. And so the CRO, the head of revenue, that's the head of sales. He's like the third person, highest person at this $500 million company. I'm taking a chance on the urinal. There's nobody there, so I'm thinking I'm safe. And he walks in. Right next to me, there's like 3 other urinals down the way, and he's just like, "What's up, man?" He's like talking. He's tall too. He's probably got a massive hog because he's a CRO. Like he's a cool dude, but you already know like he's packing something crazy. And the entire time I'm like, "Dude, just please stop talking to me. I can't be right now." And he's like, "Dude, I love that quarter zip," because he designed this quarter zip, and he's like, I'm done seeing our merch and what do you call it? Like secondhand shops." And he's just going on about this, and I'm like, dude, not a single drop has gone out. Like, can you just leave me alone? I love you, but like, what I don't think I'm worthy enough to even be talking to you right now. And obviously, as soon as he rolls up, he's one of those dudes, pulls out his massive hog, and then like, I'll never understand how people can do that. It's like a fire hydrant, dude. I'm like, I'm a tinkler myself, like just a small stream, but he's like power pissing. I'm like, respect, brother. But like, so he's on and off there, and yeah, and I'm just sitting there alone again, in peace to finally pee. But yeah, that's
there are times where you can't hold it anymore. You get in there and like, I almost heard it griddle. Like I've heard it like sandpaper on the toilet bowl.
I can't say I have. I'll never understand power pissers. Like respect.
Like, have you ever held it for so long
Yeah,
Karen, edit this part out. You ever held it for so long? Like you go and it like, and you just like,
I have, but I mean, I've held my pee for a long time. I can't say that I've ever been a power pisser. Maybe I just don't have enough testosterone.
maybe.
But that's the summation of my life. Can't pee. I love sales. Love my daughter and my wife.
Anyway. Like I told you at the start of this interview, last time we talked, you told me that you were studying religions and different religions all over the world. You want to delve into that a little bit or no?
I don't study
Like
religions.
you were looking into it, you said.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very smart, so I'm not like in deep study with these people, or with anybody professional. But I do love to research things, and I generally research Abrahamic religions. So I know nothing about Buddhism or Hinduism or anything else, but Abrahamic religions I know a good amount about, and that's been kind of my passion for a while.
So what Abrahamic religions are there? There's like
Yeah,
Christianity, Judaism, Islam,
are
and
the three.
Mormon, I know of.
Yeah, well, Mormon, you'd say that Mormon is a offshoot of
A sub.
Christianity. Yeah, sub religion of Christianity.
BLC.
It's a BLC. and the reason like Mormonism is on your mind is because we live in Utah, obviously.
Yeah.
But generally, the main religions you're looking at is Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. I haven't studied Islam enough, but I've got a buddy who's from Bosnia who's Islamic, and I'm hoping to learn some things from him. Yeah, so that's been my passion recently. I'm not very learned in it, but I love hearing the stories. I think what kind of sparks it is like a faith crisis, because as you have a family, you start to realize like, what is it that I believe? You know, I was always Mormon, but I didn't really understand other religions. I always thought other religions were silly. I thought atheism was silly. But researching it, you realize that there's better arguments to be made than you realize. You think everybody's just dumb and you've got it right, and that's just so far from the truth. So that kind of sparked, and I started looking into religion just because I want to know. And I think it's brought me to kind of an interesting spot in my life. For a minute, like I'm like, oh, I'm looking at high church Protestantism, and then I'm thinking, oh, maybe that's correct, or oh, maybe Catholicism, or
What is high church Protestantism?
yeah, that's a good question. So let's just dive real deep into this.
I love it. Let's do it.
And let's start with Christianity. At the beginning of Christianity, you've got kind of a disagreement of what it is that was taught and what it is that happened. You've got gospels that the early church was trying to figure out whether they were canon, whether they were scripture, or whether they were fake. You've got scripture like the Gospel of Thomas that is
Was that one of the Gnostic ones?
the Gnostic Gospel,
Gnostic ones get
or the
wild.
or the Gospel of Mary. So you've got all these. You start to realize that as you're researching it, that there's like a lot going on there, and the early church was trying to figure out, okay, what do we put in here? What do we take out? What happened? The church fathers, they were pretty far away from the death of Jesus. You've got like, I'm not going to jump into the church fathers because I'm not smart enough for that, but you've got early church fathers like I believe it's Ignatius of Antioch, who was, I want to say, like 100 years away from Jesus' death. So they're pretty far removed, and they're trying to figure out what happened. So they have councils. It's where all the bishops, they meet together and they decide what should happen. In 313, you have the Council of Nicaea, which is probably the most well-known council. They established the Trinity. They, which I don't know if you guys know what the Trinity is, but it's
The Father, Son, and Holy
yeah,
Ghost.
the idea that the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost are one God, it's kind of the development of classical theism. It's super, to me, it's Aristotelian, so it's pretty similar to the God of Aristotle. No attacks, obviously, in that sense, but that could be a good thing. I love Aristotle. I love Plato. So I'm not shooting any shots at anybody, but it does seem Aristotelian in nature. Just the fact that God is so disconnected from humans. This is coming from my perspective of somebody who is Mormon, which is almost a complete opposite belief. So anyway, at this council, they really kind of figure out what the Trinity is. They figure out that all the Gnostic Gospels, they're all crap, and the Gnosticists, they're crap. And they establish the kind of like the churches, the basics of the church we know today, the Catholic and the Protestant church we know today. That council was called by the first Christian emperor of Rome, Constantine. Yeah, so that's kind of where the Roman ideologies get mixed in with Christian ideologies. Constantine takes on the Christian religion as the religion of the Roman Empire. He uses that. I don't believe that. I see a lot of people talk about how Constantine wasn't sincere in his belief, and he used Christianity as a tool. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's evidence for that. I think he was sincere. He was baptized like 1,000 times because he was worried that it wouldn't take. He uses the Christian religion to unite Rome, because what had happened is Rome had split between the two empires because of the Roman emperor who split Rome between.
Was it Alexander the Great?
No, Alexander the Great is he's the king of
That was
Macedonia, which I love history too, so we could jump into that. So I want to say I don't remember his name. I could look it up, but he splits. He's one of the most popular Roman Empire emperors. To me, he's such a good man. He's realizing that Rome is getting too big. He decides that he's going to split the East and the West because they were pretty different culturally. One was speaking Latin, one was speaking Greek, between two leaders that were co-rulers, essentially. So he had two Augusti, and then Augustine. I think it was Augusti, I think. And then beneath them, two Caesar. So it was four people that were ruling four different sections of the Roman Empire, but there was really two. It was like two main ones, and then they were split in half. But the Augusti, they were in charge, and that works really well for his rule. But as soon as he dies, you start to see that fall apart. Constantine, he consolidates power. And yeah, I actually think he saved the Roman Empire. I think he prolonged its collapse, or at least the Western Roman Empire, by 100 years, doing what he did. But he consolidates power back to a single Caesar, moves the capital to modern Istanbul, Constantinople, which is in Turkey. And yeah, I think he's a cool dude. I personally am a fan. But he uses Christianity to do that in big part, which doesn't mean that he wasn't sincere in his belief, but it means that he did use it as a tool. And a lot of people get upset by that, but I don't think that's fair. So then you've got this church for that happens in 313. You've got this church for 700 years that is trying to figure out what's going on, what's right and what's wrong. But in 1000 AD, you've got the Great Schism, and that's how the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church really become separated. And what had happened is that the Catholics had believed that the Roman Pope, because there's popes everywhere, there's the Pope of Rome, which is where Peter was the Pope of Rome, or sorry, the Bishop of Rome. That's where the idea of the papacy comes from. There's like the Bishop of Antioch, the Bishop of Jerusalem. So there's all these different bishops, and they would all meet in councils and decide doctrine, decide the religion. They'd build the religion almost, which, again, I don't mean in a disrespectful way. In 1000 AD, the Church of Rome, the Bishop of Rome, and this doesn't just happen in 1000 AD, but it's real. You start to see it real bad. He starts deciding that he's the head of all the bishops, and he's fighting with a bishop in the east. I don't remember which one, and he excommunicates him. And then the bishop of the east is like, actually, you're excommunicated. And that's actually how that freaking massive discourse, or whatever you call it, massive freaking divide started. These two dudes were just like, you're out of here, bud. And then, yeah. So now you've got
the rest just pick a side, or
yeah, essentially. But you see it really split between East and West, because one side is Eastern Rome, which is Greek, and one side was Latin Rome. And so you see Western Europe become Catholic, and then you see Eastern Europe, Russia, Jerusalem, Antioch, which is Turkey, or Anatolia, which is Turkey. That all becomes Eastern Orthodox. And the Eastern Orthodox, they're essentially the same as the Catholics, but they don't believe in one head. So there's no head ruler. There's just bishops that get together and decide, which sounds good, but there's problems with that. Like, what happens if we disagree? If we're going to sit here and say that whatever these 12 dudes say is the word of God, what happens if those dudes disagree? So there's a lot of discourse. There's a lot of disagreement between the Eastern Orthodox. The Catholics, they don't have that. Then you also see, again, so that leads to two major sects. In 50, somewhere around there, after the Crusades, which, by the way, a lot of the Eastern Orthodox people were sacked and attacked during the Crusades, because it was all Catholic, and I think that's part of the reason why Eastern Orthodox is kind of got a low population today. But I don't know, and obviously the Bolshevik Revolution, which we'll get into. The Catholics, they were charging money to be forgiven of your sins, because obviously the good old Catholic Church charging money to be forgiven of your sins. They had to make a dime. And an ordinary person wasn't allowed to read the Bible, because, well, they were allowed, but it was in Latin, and nobody could.
That's where Martin Luther came in.
Exactly, yeah, and nobody could even read at that time, barely. And so Martin Luther, he has all of his 40-page thesis or 44-page thesis or whatever it is. He has all of his quarrels with the Catholic Church, and he doesn't try to make a schism. He sets to make a reformation. So he wants to reform the Catholic Church. A lot of Protestants, they don't understand, but Martin Luther, I think he still respected the Catholic Church. I think he still believed in papal supremacy, as far as I understood, but I could totally be wrong there. So he goes off, his followers go off and they do their own church, which is, in that time, they're all like, oh, we're all the same church, but we're reforming it, we're fixing it. But they've got very different ideas of things. And that leads to the Church of England, that leads to Calvinism, that leads to most religions in America, because everybody from England and Germany, where it was a little bit more Protestant, they came over to America.
Mhm.
So you see America be super Protestant. High church Protestantism, that's those Lutherans, those Calvinists. They believe they disagree with the Catholic Church with papal supremacy, but they believe that they still believe in baptism. They still believe in sacrament. They still believe in all these things. So they're a little bit better. In my opinion, they're a little bit closer to Catholics. Low church Protestants, they're what you see in mega churches. Like it's your average like Jesus, let's go. Don't need anything. Baptism doesn't mean anything. Everything is symbolic. Evangelicals, most of the churches in America, I'd say are lower church.
Okay.
And so that's the different major Christian sects, and they all believe in a little bit different things. They all hold to the Trinity. Yeah, that's a quick summation of things.
Okay. This is a super difficult question as far as I can tell. What is the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit?
It depends on who you ask. Obviously, everybody's got a different idea of things. The
You want to clarify why you're asking that question?
Okay. I'm asking this question because for a long time I've asked a lot of people and I've never gotten a straight answer. And it never made sense to me. Like, I understand God and Jesus, and I do firmly believe in God. I question Jesus's divinity, and I think that that's a good thing. I think that we should all question things, because if you don't question it, you don't learn about it, you know?
yeah, of course.
And I actually heard recently that the words Holy Spirit, the words they're translated from, could also be translated as breath of God.
Yeah. Yep.
And that is where it like vaguely starts to make sense to me. But I want you to tell me if like, can you go in detail and like explain what that is?
So I'm not near smart enough to make a solid statement on this, but I can say my understanding of it through a Trinitarian look on things is that it is essentially the power and the essence that flows out from the Father and the Son. And again, Eastern Orthodox and Catholics, they'll disagree on whether it comes from just the Father or just or the Father and the Son together. That doesn't matter. As far as I understand, that's the understanding of the Holy Ghost in a Trinitarian point of view, is that it is the power that comes from the Father and the Son.
And is that your point of view?
No, I don't think so. I think the Holy Ghost is, and I could totally be strawmanning the Trinitarian ideology. I probably am. But my view is that the Holy Ghost is more human. Not human. It's more of a person than like the Father and the Son, than like the essence that flows out. And I'm sure a Trinitarian agrees with that.
Okay.
But I mean, Mormons, they believe that the Holy Ghost is a being.
Do you think there's any sort of connection with the idea that the Holy Ghost is the breath of God, and where it says in Genesis, I don't remember the exact chapter, where God is making Adam and it says he blew his breath into his nostrils? Do you think there's some sort of connection there or no?
It could be. The reason we talk about the Holy Ghost is because all throughout the Bible we see the Holy Ghost personified as Elohim.
Can you give me an example of when?
No. But I'd love to. I couldn't tell you anything about the Bible, but that's my understanding of things. And again, like I'm just learning. I'm looking for somebody to teach me. So I'd love for somebody to correct me on these things. But that's my understanding of it, is that the reason they talk about the Holy Ghost like that is because it's personified. But that's, I guess that's above my pay grade.
Maybe we should do Bible studies.
Maybe we should do Bible studies.
I was wanting to have somebody come on regularly that was like, we are going to go and read all the way through this book, and then we're going to meet up and talk about it, talk about the lessons we could learn from it, how to incorporate that into our lives, all that sort of stuff. I was thinking one of them could be the Bible, but unpacking it book by book because it's quite hefty, you know.
I could be down to do that. I could be persuaded to do that. That
Are
sounds
you
pretty
already
fun.
persuaded to do
I'm
it?
pretty persuaded.
We should do it. Give me a,
I'm down.
let me know when we're done with this if you're like all the way
All the way
sure
down.
about it.
I'm a very busy man.
I know. Thing is, I want to go all the way in, like read all the apocryphas, even look into like, I found a Gnostic book called like the Book of Remembrance of Melchizedek, and I want to learn about Melchizedek, and I'm willing to look
Melchizedek
into.
is one of the most mysterious figures in the Bible.
I'm willing to look into Gnostic texts, because like, I get that you should take it with a grain of salt, but I think that there's certain truths to everything, and even if you look in like Greek mythology, the story of Pandora's box mirrors the story of Adam and Eve and getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden. It's
The Gnostic Gospels are fascinating. Like, I've only read a little bit of the Gospel of Thomas and a little bit of the Gospel of Mary, and they're both like, as far as I understand, they're like pretty, or at least the Gospel of Mary is, from what I remember, pretty destroyed. Like, we don't really have much. I guess not a lot of it has survived. And I think that was kind of on purpose. A lot of the early Christians, they did not like the Gnostics, but their idea of things are fascinating. Like, it's very, very Zoroastrian. If you know what Zoroastrian is.
not a lot. Would you be able to educate me?
Best I can. Zoroastrian was the dominant religion in the Middle East area, especially Persia, which is modern day Iran, before Islam. It's very Gnostic in where it believes that there's a battle between good and evil. You're throwing me off a little bit, Jaren.
I'm doing my job.
I appreciate it, man. So the idea is that the God, which was like the main good God, as far as I understand, had lower gods beneath it. And I'm so to somebody who knows, I'm going to sound so dumb, but there's one main God. There's lower gods beneath that God.
Wasn't there like 7 good and 7 bad?
And
This is
I don't know.
Gnostic.
But one God essentially uses the power of the main God to create Earth and humans. And so Earth and humans are corruption of what is good. But their souls were made with like fragments of that main God. So essentially humans are mini gods. They're gods trapped in so, and that means that flesh is evil, the desires of flesh are evil. Everything in this world is evil, and it's all a product of the demigorg. I think it's
The
is what it's
demiurge?
called. The demiurge. Yeah,
I don't know much about Zoroastrianism, but I did learn a lot about Gnosticism, just partially for the lore, but also just the other day I accidentally listened to a Gnostic audiobook about like
I did
the
that
beginning of the world.
I did that same thing.
I was just flipping through YouTube and it was like, this is some story about a lion. I don't like, it has something to do with the Bible. Okay, and it's like the Gnostic Bible, chapter 1.
Yeah.
Don't know what the heck is
Dude,
going
I
on, but
I accidentally listened to a have you ever heard of the Anunnaki?
yeah.
I accidentally listened to like an Anunnaki style like understanding of the Bible, and it's so weird. It was funny, but I was like, "What the heck did I get myself into?"
Yeah, I want to look more into this stuff like that because I've been looking into a lot of versions, like different fairy tales, different mythologies, different tales about the world's ending. I've been taking a lot of notes on these, and so you know about the flood at the end of the Younger Dryas?
Yeah.
Basically, every culture in the world has what's referred to as a flood myth.
Yeah.
You know, where the world is flooded. The version that I believe personally is Noah and the ark. And every story follows that template. There are slight variations, like sometimes it's just one man Sometimes it's one man and his family. Sometimes it's him and his herds. Sometimes it's him and two of every creature in the world,
Yeah.
But either way, every single culture has a story about the world being flooded.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So fascinating.
I think that is really fascinating. But if you look at it, there's a bunch of different stories all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is like werewolves, for example. And I kind of think that stuff like werewolves and vampires are real because, well, for one thing, in the Bible it says that blood is life.
Yeah.
And that suggests to me that if you consume someone else's blood, you consume their life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of the Bible is actually very specific and very direct, not so roundabout like people think it is. But there's like, for werewolves, every werewolf story is one of two things. Either they ate somebody, and God or the gods said, if you're going to live like a beast, you're going to become a beast. Or they made a deal with devils and demons who give them something that they put on their skin to turn into a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have werewolf stories like the Greek tale of King Lycan, which is where we get the word lycanthrope.
Yeah.
Where he tries to feed Zeus human flesh and is cursed to become a beast.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of tales across England, France, and Germany about people who, like, some of them ate people. A lot of them admit to having made deals with demons and gotten an ointment or a belt they put on their skin, and then they turned into a wolf and they attacked kids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you look over in the Americas, there's the Wendigo,
Yeah.
which is, tales describe them as not necessarily being completely like beasts, but they look almost like zombies, according to how they're described.
Yeah, just barely.
And they're
listened to
very
somebody.
clearly called beasts, like they're not humans anymore.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, they ate somebody. Then there's skinwalkers, who are witches, they make deals with devils and demons. Often they have to do something horrible, though it's not specified what that thing is, which lets them wear the skin of beasts.
Yeah.
In places like Ethiopia, they have to wear hyena because they don't actually have wolves over there.
Yeah, fascinating.
And by looking at stuff like this, I just realized, like, there has to be some amount of truth to it if every culture has stories like it. Maybe not every culture, but most cultures. But even the fact that, like, kangaroos are only native to Australia suggests that some monsters in the real world might only be seen in some places or other.
Let me play devil's advocate, which is so Carl Jung. Are you familiar with Carl Jung?
Mm-hmm.
Carl Jung, he worked with Sigmund Freud, and they agreed on Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory, which is essentially the idea that 99% of our brain is unconscious, and our mind is unconscious. 1% is our conscious thought. So that means that there's deep things that we don't understand about our brain, essentially, which I agree. And I think most modern psychologists agree too.
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah.
Something really interesting. I actually learned about this just the other day.
Yeah.
But you think with your whole nervous system, not just your brain.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. So, like, thinking goes on in your elbows and your knees, down in your toes, and in your head.
Yeah. I don't know much about that, but Carl Jung, him and Sigmund Freud, they split because Sigmund Freud, he's pretty weird. He had a lot of good ideas at first, but he starts to become super creepy. A lot of his ideas are sexually deviant. He had some weird mom issues. So he starts, and I think this is a problem. People hear Sigmund Freud and they think of the husk, which is all that nasty stuff, but they really forget the meat of what he taught was psychoanalytic theory, which was way more, which is like our current understanding of psychology today. Anyways, Carl Jung, he agreed with Sigmund Freud about that, but he loved tales, he loved fantasy, he loved he believes that there was something real, profoundly real about stories. And he is why Jordan Peterson is the way that Jordan Peterson is. I'd say if you ever listen to Jordan Peterson talk, especially to religious people, have you ever watched Jordan Peterson's Jubilee 20 Atheists versus One Jordan Peterson?
I haven't. I was thinking about it, but
Yeah, fascinating because
my
the
in-laws were
entire
telling me not
time.
to.
Oh, really? Why is that?
They were just saying that, or it was like Christian versus 10 Atheists
Yeah.
or something by Jordan Peterson, they said. And that he was kind of arrogant, and like if someone brought up a real point, he was like, "You're being mean, get out of here."
Well,
I want to look into it for myself,
Yeah,
but that's just
so-
what I was told so far.
so a lot of people were very upset with Jordan Peterson. The Christians were upset with Jordan Peterson because they're like, dude, you got clapped by these atheists and you didn't make a good strong point for Christianity. Jordan Peterson isn't Christian. He's not religious in the sense that we think he's in the sense that most people would think he's religious. And then atheists hate him because they're like, dude, you just dodged the question the entire time. The reason that is because, or at least in my opinion, is because Jordan Peterson is Jungian and he was talking. They were talking past each other the entire time. He believed he was in a whole different realm of conversation, and they were in a whole different realm of conversation. So when they ask him, they're like, "Jordan, do you believe that Jesus was born of a virgin?" He's like, "That depends on what you mean by believe." And everybody clowns him, but it's like he says that because he believes that there's something inherently true about stories, whether it's kind of confusing, but something true beyond truth about stories, which makes no sense. But so you listen to him debate these atheists, and he's talking about something that they're not talking about. They're talking about something he's not talking about. So the entire time the conversation is not working. They're there to debate classic theists, and Jordan Peterson isn't a classical theist. They were told that they were there to debate a Christian. Jordan Peterson isn't Christian. Not in the sense that most atheists or Christians would claim to be.
Classify 'em.
Yeah, classify. So the entire time they're just talking back above each other. They're just talking past each other. But Jordan Peterson, he's that way because he's Jungian. Jung believed that there was truth in these stories. And he also believed something that is super fascinating, but it's the idea of collective consciousness, I believe is what he called it, a collective consciousness. And in that, he believed that every human being was connected, like freaking Attack on Titan. And they shared a consciousness almost. And he believed, and like you notice, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, like these things are popping off in different places at the exact same time. It's like people came up with the same idea at the exact same time. And Jung believed that there's one collective consciousness that everybody pulls from. That's why when Jung and Jordan Peterson talk about thought and prayer, that they're so fascinated, because to us it's like, in this conversation, me and you are both thinking a lot, and we're coming up with new ideas. We're learning things right now. Like as I talk, I'm learning. As you're talking, you're learning, and that is crazy. Like if you actually think about this, a new thought that I'm building right now, it's coming from nowhere. It's coming from nowhere. Something I didn't know, something my brain didn't know at the beginning of this conversation, and it knows at the end of the conversation. Where did that thought come from? And I'm sure people are going to be like, "Oh, this dude's an idiot," but to me, that's a serious question. When you pray or meditate, new things are coming up in your mind that you didn't realize. And I don't think we can just gloss over that. That's crazy that we're just creating new things. And a lot of it is ideas that we've heard in the past. So that makes sense, but not always, And so that's just would be my counter thought to the idea of like a flood or some of the myths. Like, is there a collective consciousness that everybody's pulling from? I don't know if I don't necessarily believe that that's where these stories are coming from, but I think there's something.
It is a valid point.
I think there's something to do with that.
I kind of think that collected societies are likely to progress in the same way, or connected, I should say, societies.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they're connected very scarcely, they're still likely to proceed on similar levels.
Yeah.
But that's why we would have like uncontacted tribes are still tribes who
Yeah.
haven't even created writing yet, you know?
Yeah, but you see people like Plato, like people like Greek philosophers and Confucius coming up with like similar ideas. You see like the Roman and like Inca, I believe, empires were close to the same area. I think they were close to the same time, like popping off the exact same time. I don't know. I just think it's fascinating. I don't think I'm not necessarily bought into the idea that there's a collective consciousness, but I think it's fascinating.
Well, you might say that there are things that are just plain smart. Like
Yeah.
every single civilization in the world builds homes and buildings.
Mhm.
We all built weapons and shields and armor when we needed them. You know,
Yeah, you could
We
just say
all-
it's human.
yeah, we all have these innate desires, and I do think that a lot of the things like taking care of your family, that's a natural biological thing that all humans have in common, you know. And so even though we build houses that are shaped different ways, it does the same job.
Yeah.
And that might be kind of partially what inspires the whole collective consciousness idea, is things like that. But then also, like, when two civilizations are connected and touch, even if it's just like some merchants from there came over here and then went back, the things that they told us about everything, that alone is going to impact our society in ways that your society would impact our society.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm not necessarily saying there is a collective consciousness. I just think it's a fascinating point, and I think there's something to be had there.
It does make sense. There's one other thing though that I don't like, is because I've delved into a lot of stories like this where monsters come up and stuff, and every single time, you know what they say the monster was? Mass hysteria.
Oh,
Every single time
yeah.
they say there wasn't really anything, or maybe a dog got
Yeah.
through the fence, and everybody just built up this story in their minds that there was a werewolf running around and actually killing people, and they
Yeah.
have eyewitness accounts of chasing it into an alleyway, and when they got there, it was gone, and then they heard growling behind them, and they turned around, and this hulking 7-foot monster was there until more guys showed up and it ran away. And they attribute all this to mass hysteria. And I realize I might sound like a kook right now, and I, like, maybe it wasn't a werewolf, but I know for a fact that wasn't mass hysteria, because I've been camping. Me and a dozen kids running through the woods. We hear some growling, and someone's like, "Oh, there's a werewolf." Where? See a little squirrel run by. I didn't think that was like a regular size wolf or a dog or out to get me in any sort of way. So kids jump up and chase me. I didn't think they were werewolves. I don't think that mass hysteria is really a thing.
I think, I don't know. Mass hysteria, I think, can be a thing. But I told you when we were talking about this before, like, I think it was 13,000 people in Portugal saw the sun go dark in at the same time. And they're like, oh, that's mass hysteria. It's like, are you sure about that, chat? Like, let's not just like boil that down.
Yeah. I did want to mention, though, one thing I learned quite interesting is that thing about all the cultures having different versions of the same story. There's versions of swords. And they each, so many cultures have stories about a sword. So like the English, it would be Excalibur. You know, the French, it would be Durandal. For more Arabic countries, it would be the sword Zulfiqar, which is described as being a curved scimitar with 2 points or a forked tip, and it can cut through anything and is completely unbreakable. My favorite one, I think, is the Norse version of the story with the sword Tyrfing. And this is why it's my favorite. It's described as, and I quote, "the sword as sharp as lightning," end quote.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. And so often with these magic swords, it is unbreakable, can cut through anything, but as soon as you pull it from the scabbard, it has to have blood before it can go back in.
Yeah. Was that with all of them, or did you say that was just with
That's
the
not
Arabian?
with all of them. It's not specifically for Durandal and Excalibur. I know there's more. I'm forgetting the names of them because I didn't find them as interesting as the others, so I didn't really
That's all
take
right.
note of them.
That's all right.
I do wonder if there's some truth to Excalibur, though, because, well, the whole King Arthur story is extremely well thought out. And not to mention, I have this lovely copy right here, Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. And Sir Thomas Malory was actually a historian who was specifically hired to find the true history of King Arthur. Most versions of the stories are based off this one.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Yeah. But even in this one, he has basically the sword in the stone breaks, and Merlin says, "Come on, Arthur, we're going to go get you a new sword." And so they go to the Lady of the Lake, and they talk to her and ask if they can take her sword, which is Excalibur. And while they're rowing away, Merlin says, "Unsheath the blade." And Arthur does, and he says, "Tell me what you think of it." And Arthur says, "This is the finest blade I've ever seen. Someone would have to trade away a whole kingdom to get this." And Merlin says, "It's funny you should mention that, because the scabbard is at least 5 times as great as the sword. It's worth 5 times as much." And when Arthur asks why, he says that the scabbard has actual magical properties. So the sword won't break and can cut through anything, but as long as you have the scabbard girded on, you won't bleed or take infection. Basically, you won't die from any wounds unless it's a fatal. So if I go and like cut off your arms and legs, you won't die from that. You won't bleed out. It would have to be like I stabbed you in the heart or cut your head off to kill you.
Yeah, that's that's beyond my pay grade. I don't know anything when it comes to mythology other than just like your basic.
I'm glad you
mythology
considered.
stuff.
I'm glad you continued that sentence.
I don't know anything.
It's true. I really don't know anything. Like I'm talking about religion today, but
They say that
there's
the more you learn,
100,000 more people that could.
they say that the more we know how little we knew.
Oh yeah.
I did want to ask though if our viewers have any questions for our guest.
So far, no.
No.
Frick,
Well,
dude. Nobody wants to talk.
how many
to me.
viewers do we have? Well, to all the viewers out there, I invite you
5.
to ask any questions you've got for my friend Heleman here. Anyway, what other studies have you gone into except for Christianity?
That's pretty much my life, dude. You'd mentioned Alexander the Great. I love Alexander the Great. I wouldn't mind talking a little bit.
Go
about
ahead.
that.
You're welcome to it.
Okay. Again,
Half an hour.
half an hour. Okay.
An hour until the 2-hour mark, which is usually where we wrap up the
The serious
actual
talk.
serious talks.
Well, we can keep going with that if you want. I'm having fun with it, but at that point, we start having fun.
Okay. I like it. So Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, he was Greek, not Roman. He was taught by, I think, Aristotle, but I could be totally wrong there. Might have been Socrates. He was taught by one of them. His mom, his mom had told him that he was.
The crazy lady.
She'd convinced him that he was Zeus's son, essentially.
I thought she had also convinced him that he was Achilles' descendant.
Oh, maybe that's it. She had convinced him that he was the son of a god and that he was born of a virgin birth. I don't think Zeus's son. I think you're right about that.
What is so special about a virgin birth?
Yeah, that's a good
Why does
question.
it show up in so many different
So many
cultures?
stories.
I even learned usually it's on December 25th too.
Yeah, I think. Again, I think it comes down to there being something about stories. There's something about stories that we all just resonate with, and I think this for me is a big reason that I'm Christian. The story of Jesus is a story that we all resonate with. The Lord of the Rings is about Jesus, if you ever noticed. Frodo, Gandalf, and Aragorn are all Jesus.
Messianic figures.
Yeah, messianic figures. But you even like you read other stories like the hero's journey, and it all follows a sort of trend.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I don't want to necessarily say the messianic trend,
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of things talking
but
about.
in a way it does.
I've seen a lot of things talking about like this story is based on Christianity and this story is inherently Christianity, and like I get it. Some are like I heard that Tron Legacy was very intentionally, very specifically based on Christianity, and even like
I don't know anything
it's about
about that.
the father giving over the world to his son.
Yeah,
Um,
but I
and
barely.
when it was
finished
explained
Tron,
to me,
dude.
it made sense. But if you think about it, technically, every chosen one story, every story about like conquering evil and even the evils within ourselves, these can all be rooted in Christianity. I don't think there's necessarily anything special about a story having these Christian references, especially because so often our stories have heroes.
Yeah,
And I actually wanted to get into this. I didn't really care with who, but I think that the idea of Christian values is a little bit silly. And before anyone gets mad, I want to explain this because what are the Christian values? Tell me, what do you think some Christian values are?
I think Christian values would be living as Jesus lived, and being willing to make that ultimate sacrifice for the ultimate good. Essentially,
So, what would you call the actual values themselves?
selflessness, maybe. I think that's like a dummied down version of what it is.
The way I see it, these Christian values are things such as honor, courage, integrity, selflessness, love, kindness, forgiveness. And actually, a lot of people forget things like justice and punishing the wicked. These are things that Jesus did, even when he like cast out the Pharisees, was it? Calling them serpents and casting them out of the temple.
Yep.
People always forget to mention the times where Jesus was hardcore. You know? They
Well,
love to
winds are
mention
changing,
all the
dude.
times he forgave, but no one mentions those times. And the thing I wanted to bring up here is that those shouldn't be considered Christian values. Those are just plain values. Like how
What you mentioned, the values you mentioned they're very Aristotelian, very based off like Plato's teachings. Where we start to say, okay, this is a Christian values when we start to talk about everybody being equal. You're right. We see Christian values, quote unquote Christian values, all throughout history before Christianity, especially in the ancient Greek thought. But we see it everywhere. Huh?
The Iliad and Odyssey.
Yeah, but we see it everywhere. What is a unique idea is the idea that all humans are equal and created in the image of God, which you could say, you'd say that's from the Old Testament, but Judaism doesn't teach that. I think we take that super for granted because in modern time we're just like, oh, yeah, everybody's equal, but I don't think we understand before Christians, like, people were not equal. There was different colors of people, different types of people, slaves, there's free slaves, there's men, women, there's this people and that people. I think it's a big deal that these Christians are saying the creator of this world died for everybody, and we're all equal in value to that creator. Free or slave, man or woman, as Paul says. And so I think that's what Christian values is, and I think we take that for granted. I think that's a big deal.
You know, something funny is actually when African slave traders came to America to sell their slaves, they actually did not like Christians because those pesky Christians were always buying and just instantly freeing slaves. Like, didn't even use them first.
How dare they? Christians, they do have a long history with doing not good things, though.
Yeah.
But that's not. I wouldn't say that's fair.
Got a couple messages here.
Heck yeah.
Let's
First off.
freaking go.
So, first off, there are two questions that I'm going to ask after I talk about this next message.
Okay.
So, Mosiah says,
Let's freaking
Hey, brother.
go.
great Christian values are, and then he lists off the 10 Commandments.
Okay.
He says those are the Christian values.
Yeah, but does that not seem like regular values? Point that I'm making is like, those are just plain old good values. You know, and maybe
Yeah.
Christian is synonymous with good, but maybe there's something to other religions that's less good.
Yeah. I think Mosiah would like my comment on it, maybe.
Well, hopefully.
Shout out to Sai. Hopefully he did.
He would like your comment. What's your comment?
That Christian values is that everybody was created equal. Everybody was created in the image of God, and no matter our economic status, no matter our race, we are all equal. I think that's above the 10 Commandments, even.
One thing I like is actually that the Bible doesn't specify that all men are equal. It says all men are created equal. And I really like that because we're all created as babies. We are all created at zero. We all are equally zero until we make something of ourselves. And what we make of ourselves is different. And I love that. Anyway, keep going.
Actually, he responded again. He says your average atheist and or Jew doesn't share all Christian values. They're just basic values. Or they're not just basic values.
We should get him on so that he can explain it personally, but I don't want to make him text all of it. I fail to see how they aren't just plain good values, especially when it's ideas such as like, don't be always coveting what other people have,
Should we get
or
on a call?
have integrity.
He's on a FaceTime with Sai. Do we have other questions before we can delve into that?
Yeah, but it kind of leads off onto a different...
Okay.
Okay. Well, you're the producer. Whatever you want.
I'm gonna unmute my mic here. Paisley has 2 questions for Heleman. 1, what was your favorite memory? And 2, what was your favorite religion to learn about?
Oh,
Those are good ones.
That is a good one. My favorite memory? Dude, I don't know if I could say I have a favorite memory. I love all my memories equally. I loved getting married. That was an awesome moment in my life. But I've had like personal experiences that were pretty great too. Religious experiences. That doesn't really matter. But I'd say getting married, having my baby.
What about your
My favorite religion to learn about? I'd say I'm at the start of my journey, so I don't know if I have a favorite. To me, it's like one topic. It's one big topic and not necessarily a bunch of different topics. I love the logic of the nature of God. So, and not necessarily a religion, but a topic within religion.
I like that too. I love discussing the nature of things. Any other questions?
No. I was going to say, do you want to go back onto that subject of whether or not Christian values are just plain values?
I think it'd be nice, but it's whatever my guest wants to discuss.
I'm pro. I think Christian values are not just plain values. I think there's something special about Christian values.
Well, not necessarily plain values, but like good values. It just plain good values.
Well, let me just say that's complicated question. Like, what is good? You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean. Good is quite a standard and obvious subject.
Is
Yeah,
it though? Like, what is good? Is slavery good?
depends on the context.
Okay.
No,
Is murder good?
Murder is always bad, but killing someone isn't always bad.
Murder.
Murder is always
about
bad.
murder.
Though. Murder can specifically be defined as the intentional shedding of innocent blood.
Yep.
So, like, if I get into a car accident and kill someone, that isn't murder. And, of course, it's an evil. It's bad, but it's not like I'm bad for having done it.
Yeah.
But also, if you come and attack my family and I shoot you in the head, I'm not ever going to say that was bad of me to do. You
Me
know?
too. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that murder and killing are the same. I'm gonna talk about murder though. Is murder wrong? The intentional
Yeah.
taking of an innocent life is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, not the least because God said so,
Mhm.
but also because I think that it's just to see that evil gets punished and good gets rewarded. And to punish good by removing their life is unjust. I can go more into it, like how I think that everyone deserves a shot at life. That's why we're here.
Okay.
And I think that to get a little bit religious, God gives us our life. And so it is against God to murder someone.
So would you say that the reason you believe murder is wrong is because your background in theology, like because your beliefs in God, or is it objectively inherently evil to murder?
I would say both, because the destruction of life is never a good thing, even though sometimes
If there was no God, would it be evil?
that's a difficult subject, because I do think that God kind of laid down the groundwork for our morality. I think that it would still be evil because evil is without goodness. That's the definition. And
Okay.
I don't think there's goodness in killing someone who hasn't earned that punishment.
Okay, so how do we decide what is good and evil then?
I guess by looking at if it benefits or harms people, you can tell if it's good or bad. And from there, you can tell if that is a deserved benefit or a deserved harm.
Okay. If I'm an enemy tribe and I sack another tribe and I take all their wealth and I kill them, that's a benefit for me. Is that evil?
I don't know necessarily.
Okay.
I would say that there's a bit more nuance to it, like questioning
Imagine we
what
were
you
in
do
war.
with the wealth.
Imagine we were in war. It was an enemy tribe. I sack them, I kill them, and I kill their children, and then I use the wealth to build up my tribe. Evil or not evil?
I would say that it is an evil. It's always
Okay.
evil when there's killing children.
I 100% agree. I'm glad we can agree on that.
But then also, I would say that it partially depends on who starts the war. Because I think that, like, if you kill someone and then I kill you, I'm not a murderer. But if you attack me and I kill you, I still don't consider myself a murderer. I
Yeah.
think that you've sort of given over your innocence as soon as you have made the choice to be evil.
So you think we inherently think murder is evil then?
Yeah, I know that we inherently think murder is evil.
Really? Okay. There's tribes that don't think that, and you think that was just taught out of them?
Kind of. I kind of have to ask about the context, because there's like cannibalistic tribes where it basically is, I murder you or my family doesn't eat.
Evil or
It-
good?
It's
Or just, I should say.
it is evil,
Okay.
because there's always other things to eat than humans.
Okay.
And always eating humans is like, it's
Cuck
disgusting. It's, yeah, it's yucky. It's evil. Murdering people is always bad. And eating people is bad. But I can understand that wanting to feed your family might drive you to such a thing.
Okay.
And so that is why I might think that they might not consider it an evil, even though it is. And one thing about evil is that it doesn't have to be considered evil or considered good to be good or evil.
Okay.
You can sit here and tell me that thievery is good, but it's not. It's always bad.
Okay. So then I guess the question is, you said that Christian values are just good values. How do we know good values?
I would say that typically you can tell they're good values because they benefit people and don't harm people.
But for the majority of human history, like we've been doing things that break those quote unquote good values,
Yeah.
right? And so I think there's something special about Christianity coming along and promoting Like, hey, let's not do that.
Well, Christianity wasn't actually the first. If you,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Abrahamic, I think it was actually like
But he was the
Abrahamic
first to, like,
religions was where it started that people were like, oh, we shouldn't rape anymore. That started with Abrahamic religions. And as silly as a concept, or as silly of a concept as that is, that people needed a god to get up and say, that's bad,
mm-hmm.
it didn't make it a good thing before when they did that, you know?
So Christianity teaches this concept that we're all equal. Is that a good, or is that not good?
I say it's to a certain extent because...
Let me rephrase. Not that we're all equal, that we're all inherently valuable.
Oh.
And we're all created in the image of God. And we're all equal in the eyes of God in value.
I see that as good, again, to an extent, because there's always a line that must be drawn. I believe this very thoroughly. You have to draw the line somewhere that determines basically where you're feeding your family and where you're taking food away from someone else being able to eat. It draws the line between good and evil. So like if, say, we have 10 loaves of bread to share between 10 families, you draw the line at 1 loaf of bread for your family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cross that line and take 2 loaves of bread for your family, then one family doesn't eat.
Okay. What if there's 9 loaves of bread?
What about it?
How do you decide who gets to eat?
Um,
Like, it is a crazy thing that Christians would be down to not take that bread. That is crazy.
That is a crazy thing. The extent that I was going to, or that I was saying, is basically that we're made in the image of God, and it's fine to treat people as such until they start treating them as gods.
Okay, I see. Okay. Can you see like the beauty that the Christian world has created though? Can
Absolutely.
yeah, and do you
That's
think
part of why I say it's just plain good values.
well, do you think it could have been done without Christianity? Because if you say it's just plain good values, then yeah, it could have been done without Christianity.
I think it could have been done without Christianity, but I don't necessarily know what that would have looked like, because it hasn't really, or at least we don't know, because that may have been what Jerusalem was like around the time of Solomon, you know? King Solomon was exceptionally wise, and actually, the time of Jesus, according to all my studies, he taught people mostly to go back to what is shown in the Old Testament, and they had basically taken everything too far. That, like, for the sin of adultery, they would stone people,
Yeah.
and I understand that, because you destroy a life, and I think it is just to destroy a life, or to have your life destroyed when you've destroyed a life. That's why I agree with being executed for murder or rape.
It doesn't necessarily just destroy the person that you cheated on's life, but it's destroying kids' lives.
Yeah.
It's destroying.
If you destroy a life, it's just that you should have your own life destroyed. There's the story about, I've heard it several ways where she's either an adulterer or a whore or something in the city, and everyone's going to stone her. Then Jesus gets up and says,
Yeah.
"Let he who has no sin cast the first stone." I think that I kind of have a deeper understanding for this that some people might not have, but is basically saying, like, if she's a whore in this scenario, then it's like, okay, whoever came and visited her, you're in the same boat. Don't be so quick to punish someone, or to deal out death as a punishment for a crime that you have also committed.
He's not just talking about that. He's talking about he talks about, which also is a revolutionary idea, that your thoughts are linked to your actions. That's revolutionary. Jesus teaches that if you look on a woman with lust, then you've
already committed the sin of adultery in your heart.
So what he's saying is that we're all adulterers, we're all sinners, and if we don't tame our mind, we're going to become an adulterer in our actions.
Yeah.
And so he's not just saying like, oh, whoever's visited that woman. He's talking He's saying that in your mind, you're doing bad things too.
Mm-hmm.
You're a sinner too. You're on the same level as her, is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. I get that. And actually, what has me questioning the divinity of Jesus in my life at times is things like where he says, "Let he who has no sin cast the first stone."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get that in that moment, what almost it seems like he means to say is, if you are in the same boat as her, don't deal out death as a punishment.
Yeah.
You can find something better because you have to suffer that same punishment. But I don't think that, like, because if I steal from you and then Jaren murders you, I think that I am still in a position that I should execute Jaren.
Okay.
Even though I have committed a sin,
Mm-hmm.
I should still uphold.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I think you're misunderstanding what it is that he's trying to say. He's not just saying, "Oh, you guys are evil, so you're not allowed to punish her."
Mm-hmm.
He's teaching forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
He's teaching mercy, and he's trying to drop the high and mighty.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
I know that, but the thing is, this is one reason that I think I kind of understand Jesus pretty well, is because of justice. If he is indeed the Son of God, what he says shouldn't cross with what God says.
Okay.
And God says that he's a just God, and like all the punishments he deals out are just.
Mm-hmm.
And so it stands to reason that Jesus wouldn't spare someone unjustly.
He's saying
And
he's
that's-
robbing justice.
That's why it is, to my understanding, that what he's telling them is like, expect that you should share her punishment if you share her sin.
Mm-hmm.
Don't deal out death as a punishment so quickly if you don't want to die. Because if she was a whore and you knew her biblically, then you're in the same boat. Don't, I think that's kind of what he means by "Let he who has no sin cast the first stone," is by saying, let only the person who isn't one of the people who have to share the punishment do it.
Maybe.
And I could be wrong. It was about, a little over 2,000 years ago now.
Yeah, it's you could be right. It could be that there's multiple meanings to it. I don't necessarily think Jesus is robbing justice in that moment.
Well, I don't think it is either, except for if he is saying that you have no right to punish someone
somebody
for
who's-
committing evils if you have ever in your life commit an evil, even if it's on a lesser scale.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's trying to say there. Shoot, I gotta use the bathroom.
We're at 2 hours.
We're at 2 hours? Heck yeah. Do we have any other questions?
That's how we
wanna
wrap
answer real
this
quick, though?
hussy up and go get some ice cream.
Yes, we have a question. June says, how often are you guys going to be streaming?
We don't know yet. It's our first week. I would like to get it down to at least once or twice a week, though we might be doing it more. I expect to be streaming, but also asking our guests if they're okay with being streamed. And if they're not, then I expect to not be streaming it. And so you might get into a rhythm of, like, say, streaming one every Monday, and then one day we don't do it. It's not necessarily because we didn't do it, but because the guest wasn't comfortable with it. And
Sorry, I said streaming. She said podcast.
Oh,
often are you
podcast.
going to do the
Okay.
podcast?
I would like to do the podcast at least once or twice a week. The more, the better, because I would like it to be successful. And I know they say, like, don't start a podcast because you want to make money. And I'm not necessarily starting this because, but also with hopes of, I started this podcast because I want to hear stories. I want to learn things that can enhance my own writings. It can give me stories to teach my own children when I have them. But I also want to make money, so I want to do the podcasts fairly often.
Respect.
Any other questions or no?
Mosiah says, saying that God should justly punish her because he is a just God is limiting him to our view of what is and what isn't just, rather than acknowledging that he has his own view of what being just is.
To that, I would ask, how so? If I say that God should justly punish her, but God is the creator of justice, then how is it, say, limiting God to punishing according to my view of justice when I ask God to do so justly?
Can you rephrase that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Would you repeat the
Gang,
question
what?
real quick? So,
Saying that God should justly punish her because he is a just God is limiting him to our view of what is and isn't just, rather than acknowledging that he has his own view of what being just is.
I think, if you don't mind me saying,
no, go
I
ahead.
don't think that's what we were trying to say. I don't hold to the view that God should have punished her. What you're trying to say is that there seems to be a contradiction in the Bible. Is that what you're trying to say?
Kind of. I think there are contradictions in the modern understanding. I'm unsure if there are contradictions in the Bible itself. The thing about saying that God should justly punish her, I don't understand at all how that is limiting God to my own perception of justice.
What is?
Especially when it's saying, sorry, just one second.
Mhm.
When it's to say to punish her as you would have it done to make right.
Okay,
That's kind of what
okay.
justice is in my own idea, my own view is whatever it is to make it right according to God.
Mhm. So
You
you're
know.
not saying she should have been stoned. You're saying whatever God wills should have been done.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Desai would agree with that.
That's how justice is, I think, just period. But certainly to me, you know.
You guys ready for my fire quote? And then we can go get some ice cream and I can
Absolutely.
use the bathroom.
We can keep hanging out if you want, even after using the bathroom. But
I'm always down to chat, but I don't know what to talk about. We don't have to do a freaking 30-hour podcast. We can just hang out.
Usually we go for like half an hour after the 2 hour mark.
For real?
not required, but we just have fun.
It just happens that way.
Oh, I'm down. What time is it? 9?
Whoa. Darn, I'm walking home. I told Paige at the start of this that
I'll
if
drive
we
you
get
home.
at 9, then she doesn't have to drive me home. So that's why I brought my long coat, is because it's cold out.
You just live up there.
Yeah,
You're chilling.
I'm pretty close.
My quote for the next person, the next lucky guest, is "One must imagine Sisyphus happy" by Albert Camus, and that's from his Tale of Sisyphus.
How do you spell Sisyphus?
Gang, I don't know. SIS, or maybe it's a Y. I don't know. You have to look it up. But you guys can have fun figuring that one out. Have you ever heard that quote?
Mm-mm.
You'd like that book. It's right up your alley.
Probably. What book was it?
The Tale of Sisyphus. You know who Sisyphus is, right?
It sounds familiar.
Sisyphus is the king that was cursed to push a boulder up a mountain
Oh, yeah.
for the rest of his life. And as soon as he got the boulder to the top of the mountain, it would roll back down.
Mm-hmm.
And in Albert Camus's book, he's talking about combating nihilism, essentially, like how humans will, if we push a boulder up a mountain for the rest of our lives, and every time we almost achieved our goal, it was destroyed and pushed back down, we would start to find purpose in just pushing in the work of pushing that boulder up the hill. And I think that's extremely base, extremely deep. A lot of people, they look into, and I think this summarizes our whole podcast here. A lot of people, they look into religion and they question their religion or whatever it is they do, and they fall into like a state of nihilism. I saw actually an Instagram post of a lady talking about it, and I'll tell you who it is afterwards. So just no spreading drama.
That means we know that lady.
Yeah. Yeah. But she talked about how when you start to realize that your belief systems weren't as cut and dry as you thought they were, you can easily fall into nihilism And that's 100% right. You feel nihilistic. You don't know what to believe. And a lot of people, they can fall in that forever. And I think finding purpose in the work you do every day, there's something beautiful about that. And I think that'll be a cure to nihilism. I think in the grand scheme of things, all of our beliefs come down to our personal experiences. It comes down to what we believe to be right and wrong. And that can be scary for a lot of people, right? Like me and you can sit here and argue all day about whether God's a triune God or whether God is the God of classical theism, or whether God is X or whether God is Y, whether the Bible says this or whether the Bible says that. We can read the text, but we'll never be able to, we may never come to an agreement on what they mean, and even the smartest among us never will, right? You have Muslim scholars that are super learned and they come to a whole different understanding than Christian scholars, than Mormon scholars. And I think when people realize that, it can be kind of scary for them, because it makes you realize, like, oh, frick, what is the truth, you know? But I think finding purpose in your everyday life is a good cure for that, as well as just following your like personal experiences. I think our personal experiences are deeper than we realize. And with that, I close. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on.
It's a first podcast experience.
I would like to leave you and all the viewers with this: is you should question it. Even the beliefs that you hold most fervently, you should question them, because questioning things is how we find truth. And like, this can turn atheists towards God, and it can turn God-fearing men towards atheism.
Yeah.
But you question and you study.
100%.
And you expect to find truth at the end of your studies. And even if, because I don't want to be an atheist, but
Really?
if studying turns me to be an atheist, and that is the truth, then I will be happy in that. And I'm sure if I was an atheist, I wouldn't want to believe in God. And if study pushed me towards believing in God, and that was the truth, then I would be happy.
And that's where I'm kind of hitting on. I've studied a lot, and I've realized that you say studying leads me towards the truth. Like that might not be as real as you think it is. I can study atheism and Christianity infinitely, and I will never know which one is the truth, or at least not yet. And that's scary for people.
You ever read anything by James Fenimore Cooper? His most famous work is The Last of the Mohicans.
Oh yeah, I've read.
But that's actually book 2 in the Leatherstocking Tales.
I didn't know that.
And in book 1, it's actually where he gets the name Hawkeye.
Okay.
And he is saving these 2 girls. They're being attacked by Indians. Their father was killed and stuff. They were taught to read by their mom, teaching them with the Bible. And the main character doesn't know. And even if you ever hear me say, I knowed it, that's a quote from that, because he wasn't taught convincingly. He doesn't know that the word is knew it. And at one point they say, wait a minute, you can't read. How can you be a Christian if you don't believe the Bible?
Yeah.
And he says, look out on the forest. Look at the sunrise and the sunsets and the lakes and the mountains. How can you see all these beautiful things and not believe there is a God?
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily calling atheists wrong, but like, learn. Consider the possibility that you're wrong and look into it. And even Christians, consider the possibility that you're wrong and look into it.
Agreed.
And if you are right, then you will be more knowledgeable and you will be more set on the truth that you have discovered. And if you're wrong, then you will be one of the great people who can admit it.
Yeah. And I agree, but like I'm trying to explain that at the end of your research, you're still not going to know. You're still not going to know.
Well, that's why I brought up that quote, is because at the end of my research, like, I have a garden. And every time I see my little peach tree, it's this tall, a little peach sapling. Every time I see that with another little branch, or my apple tree with another blossom, or my strawberry with another strawberry growing on it, every time I see that, I know there is a God.
Dude, we could get real deep into that.
Every time I know because I have zero power to make things grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray every night. I go water my plants and I pray in my garden. And every single day I come and look at them and they've grown just a little bit more.
I love that. And I could get real deep into what does it mean no, but I really do got to use the bathroom. And I
Me
still want to
too.
get ice cream, so
Should we end it then?
I think so.
All right. Do we have a good outro? Should I be outroing or?
Sai, thanks for watching. I know you're probably
Thanks to all the viewers, really.
Sai knows more than all of us probably, so he's probably
Yeah, I'd like to have
cringing
him
in his
on.
boots about what we're saying right now.
Let's have him on sometime. Does he say so in the comments? Darn. Anyway,
Sai says
before we go,
nothing.
I want to ask you, who do you respect? Who do you honor and love? Who do you taught you the most? Who do you look up to?
Mhm.
Who do you think we should have on next?
Oh, I don't know who we should have on next.
That's all one question is. Who do
Yeah.
you look up to? That's who I want to have on.
Yeah, the
Who should we have
person
on?
I look up to the most, other than my father, who's not going to be on this podcast,
Darn.
probably is Brock.
Mm,
And so good luck.
okay.
But
He said not this week. We actually asked him already.
yeah, Brock Jr.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
How come you think that your dad wouldn't come on?
I don't know. I'm just assuming. You could always give it a shot.
I'll ask him.
Go for it.
I will run to your house. Or his house, I mean.
Brock actually recommended that we get you on.
I know. I texted him. I was like, dude, you threw me right under the bus. Brock,
Well, I hope you had fun.
I did have fun. Brock, he's got a lot of flaws,
Everyone does.
but that man, there's something special about his faith. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
You say there's a God by watching that sapling grow. Like, I can't say that. I can't say that, but I love that. I love people that can do that. And my dad, Brock, they're people like that. But it's more than just like an ignorant no. I appreciate it. I
That was
appreciate
awesome.
the time.
I appreciate you coming on. To all the viewers out there, thank you for watching. My name is Jaxon Kelch, and this has been the Open Chapter Society.
Tough.
Should I say signing off or something?
I
Good day. I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying every time.